breedings of otters, but males will often fight each other for the best territories. Otters feed on a wide range of prey. I mean, they eat fish, but they can also hunt water birds, amphibians like frogs, crustaceans such as crabs and crayfish. They mainly hunt above or under the water. Otters were once wiped out of Britain completely, which was because when my parents were young, otters were hunted to extinction in Britain for their fur in the late 1960s. But thanks to conservation efforts, otters have made a dramatic recovery and are found across Britain. They're one of the best places to see them is the Isle of Mull and the Isle of Skye off the west coast of Scotland. But they are still very hard to find, even for the most experienced wildlife watchers. But if you ever get a chance to see an otter, it will be one of the greatest wildlife experiences you could have. As you can see, that's their range, found across much of Britain. The next creature I'm going to show you is our largest bird of prey, the white-tailed sea eagle. And when I say the largest bird of prey in Britain, I mean they are enormous. I mean they have a wingspan that can be 1.78 to 2.45 meters, and they have a beak like a butcher's cleaver and ferocious talons almost as big as the claws of a lion. And of course, they are found mostly in Scotland, but a few years ago in 2019, young birds of about 4 or 5 were released on the Isle of Wight off the south coast of England, and they've slowly been starting to spread and breed in England for the first time in decades. White-tailed eagles are ferocious hunters. They mostly prey on fish, which are their favourite food, but they will also take seabirds and water birds, rabbits and hares, and they can also scavenge on carrion such as deer and sheep, or steal food from other birds and even otters. White-tailed eagles, like the golden eagle, mate for life, and they usually nest in an eyrie, in a tall tree or on a cliff face. They usually raise about 2 chicks that will fledge when they're about a year old, but they won't mate themselves until they are at the age of 4 or 5. White-tailed eagles, like the golden eagle, were once widespread across Britain, but they were hunted to extinction in the 1940s. But then, in the 1970s, they were reintroduced from Scandinavia. And recently, as I mentioned before, they were introduced to the Isle of Wight off the west coast, off the south coast of England. But of course, one of the best places I know of to see these magnificent birds of prey is off the coast of the Isle of Mull, Skye, and parts of northwest Scotland, the Highlands. I mean, they are slowly spreading back to the rest of England, thanks to the reintroduction project by the RSPB. The white-tailed eagle is a bird I didn't get to see in the wild until I was in my mid-teens, when I went to the Isle of Mull in the summer of 2017 with my mother. I saw 4 eagles on a boat trip across the coastline of Mull, and it is still one of the greatest wildlife experiences of my life. And I will say to anyone who wants to see these birds, go to the Isle of Mull. White-tailed sea eagles have been making a huge recovery in Britain after years of persecution by humans. Now they have been reintroduced to the south of England. In the next few years, we may see our largest bird of prey in the UK back in England for the first time in over 200 years. Of course, this is the ranges they live in. The next animal I'm going to show you is our largest land carnivore, but also one of my favourites, the badger. Badgers are the largest land predators in Britain. They are found across the British Isles, but mainly in woodlands that border on the edges of farmland. They are in the weasel family, and they are very ferocious when either hunting or being defensive. Badgers are in the weasel family. They are large and stocky, growing up to 1 metre long, with grey fur running across their backs, a white-tipped tail, and their characteristic black and white facial markings. They also have long paws with very sharp and powerful claws, sharp teeth with strong jaws, and a phenomenal sense of smell. But, like all members of the weasel family, they do have a dark side and could shred a human if they got the chance. But badgers are usually shy and elusive, preferring to run away from humans than attack unless they are frightened, cornered, threatened, or are protecting young. Badgers are often shy and elusive creatures, and they live in woodlands bordering on farmland or rural areas. They live in burrows that are called setts, and that they can dig themselves. They can be quite sociable, often live in clans of about 5 to 12 animals. They can be very territorial, and while they often don't forage together, they also tend to come out more at night, which makes them nocturnal. Badgers eat a wide range of things. They are what is known as omnivorous, as they eat a variety of different things such as earthworms, insects, beetles, slugs, snails, frogs, toads, fruits like berries, apples, plums and pears, but they will also eat small mammals such as rats, mice, voles and young rabbits. But they have also been known to eat hedgehogs and even scavenge through human bins and on dead animals. But you can also attract them into your garden by leaving food out for them, such as wet cat or dog food, unsalted peanuts or fruit, and even root vegetables. And while badgers are some of the most beloved animals in Britain, they are also, unfortunately, one of the most threatened by human beings. And that is because they have been persecuted mainly by cattle farmers, because badgers are often blamed for the spread of bovine TB, cow tuberculosis. That can wipe out entire herds. This has resulted in cull practices known as badger culls that are both inhumane and do nothing whatsoever to prevent the spread of TB to cattle. But thanks to the efforts of badger activists like Brian May, there is hope for Britain's largest land predator, and the badger is slowly making a comeback to the parts of Britain. This is their range. As you can see, they're found across much of Britain. Now I'm going to show you the robin. If you're a keen birder or not, everyone can identify the robin. It's a familiar and much loved garden bird, and it's found across much of the British Isles in all kinds of habitats, from woodland to gardens. And Robins have actually been a symbol of the festive season ever since they first appeared on Christmas cards in the Victorian era to represent the red tunic wearing postman of the day. So to this day, the robin is still seen on Christmas cards to celebrate the festive season and a story from the Bible. Robins hold a special place in the hearts of British people, mainly because the British robin is a very different character to its European counterpart. On the continent, on the European continent, the bird is shy and retiring, but in Britain, the robin has a better relationship with humans, usually following a gardener for worms, and will even hop up to a familiar hand to take seeds. And robins are in the thrush family, and of course they have a brown back with a white underside, but they also have their famous reddish-orange chest. And here in the UK, we are able to enjoy your robin sing all year round because of its territorial behaviour. But make no mistake, the robin means business when it's defending its territory, and will quite often and has quite often been known to fight to the death to defend their territory. Of course, robins breed in springtime. A pair must guard their territory throughout the winter for when spring begins. Then, when that time comes, the robin's song can be more appreciated by people all across Britain as it proclaims its territory. Robins do sing at night, but only in well-lit areas like street lamps or buildings, and are quite often mistaken for the far more elusive nightingale. Robins build their nests from dead leaves and moss with a hair lining. They are well known for their inventiveness. They have been known to nest in trees, hedges, hanging baskets, kettles, and even car bonnets. But robins are very sensitive to disturbance and will abandon a nest if it has been discovered. So if you ever see a robin nest, try not to leave any sign of your presence. And robins, unfortunately, often struggle to survive in winter, during which they must fight against their most lethal enemies: cold, hunger, and disease. And to try and withstand the cold, the robin will fluff up its feathers to give them an almost puffball appearance. But they can also survive on food left out in gardens by humans, like table scraps as well as nuts and seeds. That can give them the energy to make it through the winter. Robins typically begin breeding in April, around the arrival of spring, and that's when they start to sing beautifully. They proclaim their territory and attract a mate. And when the robin makes a nest, usually built by the female, she will lay up to 7 eggs, and can have 2 or 3 broods in a season. And robins prefer to nest in dense foliage like hedgerows and banks, or unconventional spots like sheds, boots, and teapots. And once the chicks have hatched, after 13 to 15 days of incubation, both parents will work together to bring food, which usually consists of worms and other invertebrates. After 14 days, the chicks begin to fledge, but still rely on their parents to provide them with food for another 3 weeks. Robins will usually raise 3 or 4 broods in a season, so they can focus on the next generation once their first brood has left the nest. Robins have a very varied diet. That means they will eat I mean, they mainly eat worms